Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today, we will dive into the explosive showdown at Katie's collection debut where Electra finally discovers Ivy's ultimate betrayal, leading to a jaw-dropping slap in Ivy's permanent exile from Los Angeles. I have been covering this show for years, and let me tell you, I was literally screaming at my television screen during this episode. We have seen some incredibly dramatic public showdowns on the soap opera over the decades, but the absolute sheer magnitude of what just went down at Katie Logan's fashion debut is going to go down in the history books as one of the most satisfying, brutal, and game-changing moments we have ever witnessed. If you thought the tension between the Logans, the Spencers, and the Forresters was already at a boiling point, this event just took a match and threw it directly into a powder keg. We need to break down every single second of this masterpiece, because the psychological layers, the historical connections, and the sheer karma of it all are absolutely staggering. Let us set the scene first, because the environment where this betrayal was exposed is crucial to understanding the impact. We are at the highly anticipated debut of Katie Logan's new fashion collection. The atmosphere is electric. The cameras are flashing, the fashion media is buzzing, and the champagne is flowing. Bill Spencer is standing there, looking like the cat that ate the canary. So incredibly smug and proud of Katie for stepping out of Brooke's shadow and using Eric Forrester's designs to launch her future. Brooke Logan is practically vibrating with rage in the corner, completely appalled by Katie's business decisions. The tension in the room is already thick enough to cut with a knife. It is the perfect high-stakes, glamorous backdrop for a completely devastating personal tragedy to unfold. This is classic soap opera staging. You put all the major players in one room, dress them to the nines, invite the press, and then you drop a massive bomb. And the person who drops that bomb is none other than Daphne Rose. Let us be real for a second about Daphne. For weeks, she has been carrying the absolute crushing weight of Ivy Forrester's toxic secrets. Daphne knew about the stolen letter. She knew about the necklace trickery. She knew that Ivy was the sole architect of the cruel, manufactured breakup between Electra and Will Spencer. And we have to look at Daphne's current psychological state to understand why she finally snapped. Daphne and Carter Walton just received a negative pregnancy test. She thought she was pregnant. She had the phantom symptoms. The fatigue, the flutters, and then her heart was broken. When you go through a deeply personal, emotional loss like that, it shifts your perspective. You realize that life is too short for lies for manipulation and for playing God with other people's lives. Daphne could no longer stomach watching Electra walk around in a daze of heartbreak while Ivy pranced around Forrester Creations acting like a savior. So amidst the chaos of the fashion show, amidst the flashing lights and the thumping runway, Music Daphne pulls Electra aside. She cannot hold it in for another second. She reaches into her bag and pulls out the physical proof, the stolen letter, the very letter that Will wrote, the letter that would have saved their relationship, the letter that Ivy swiped with her own greedy hands. The moment Daphne hands that piece of paper to Electra, the entire trajectory of the show shifts. I want you to imagine the sheer horror dawning on Electra's face. She unfolds the paper. She recognizes Will's handwriting immediately. And in that split second, every single thing she thought she knew about her breakup, about her aunt, and about her life in Los Angeles shatters into a million pieces. I think we really need to pause and analyze the sheer psychological trauma Electra's experiencing in this exact moment. Imagine believing that the man you love abandoned you, that he did not care enough to fight for you, and that your relationship naturally deteriorated. You mourn that loss, you cry yourself to sleep, you start trying to move on, even getting pulled into the orbit of RJ Forrester. And then in the blink of an eye, you realize it was all a lie. It was a completely fabricated illusion created by the one person you trusted most in this world, your Aunt Ivy. The betrayal is not just romantic, it is familial. It is a deep, agonizing violation of trust. Electra realizes that she has been a puppet, and Ivy has been pulling the strings, laughing behind her back while comforting her to her face. It makes me sick just thinking about it, and I am completely Team Electra here. Electra is so stunned, she can barely stand. The world is spinning around her. The ambient noise of the fashion show, the reporters asking questions, the clinking of glasses, it all fades into a deafening silence in her ears. She looks across the crowded room and locks eyes with Ivy Forrester. Ivy, who is probably sipping champagne and patting herself on the back for a job well done. Electra does not hesitate. She marches straight toward Ivy, parting the sea of fashion elites, socialites, and media members. The confrontation that follows is nothing short of legendary. When Electra shoves the letter in Ivy's face, Ivy realizes she is completely cornered. There is no Daphne to silence anymore. There is no Melissa Dillon to manipulate. The physical proof is literally crinkling in Electra's shaking hands. And what does Ivy do? Does she fall to her knees and beg for forgiveness? Does she show genuine remorse for destroying her niece's happiness? Absolutely not. Ivy does what Ivy has always done. She doubles down with the most elitist, arrogant, and delusional justification possible. Ivy tries to explain right there in front of the flashing cameras of the media that she did it for Electra's future. She actually has the audacity to invoke the Forrester bloodline. She tells Electra that Will Spencer is not good enough for her, that the Spencers are toxic, and that she had to protect the Forrester legacy by pushing Electra toward RJ. Can you believe the absolute nerve of this woman? This argument makes my blood boil, but it is also incredibly fascinating from a historical perspective. Ivy's dialogue here is echoing the ghost of B and B's past. When Ivy talks about protecting the Forrester bloodline and controlling who her family members date, who does she sound exactly like Stephanie Forrester? For decades, Stephanie Forrester used this exact same elitist rhetoric to justify the most horrific manipulative actions against Brooke Logan. Stephanie faked a heart attack to manipulate Ridge. She brought people back from the dead, she paid people off, all in the name of protecting the family. Ivy is trying to channel that matriarchal authority, but here is the kicker. Ivy is not Stephanie Forrester. Ivy does not have the respect, the history, or the power to pull off that kind of god-complex manipulation. Ivy is just a bitter, lonely woman who wanted to play matchmaker because her own life is a mess. And let us talk about the hypocrisy of Ivy judging the Spencers. Need I remind you of Ivy's own history? This is the same Ivy who blackmailed Steffy Forrester with a video of Allie's death. This is the same Ivy who constantly played the victim while manipulating Liam, Wyatt, and Thomas. For Ivy to stand there and act like she is the moral gatekeeper of the Forrester family is the joke of the century. And Electra sees right through it. Electra is a grown woman. She does not need her aunt treating her like a chess piece in some twisted family feud. Electra is not having any of it. The rage, the grief, the humiliation of being manipulated bubbles up to the surface. Ivy is still talking, still trying to spin her web of lies, still trying to justify the unjustifiable. And then it happens. Electra rears back and unleashes a slap that I am pretty sure registered on the Richter scale. It was a fiery, explosive, open-handed slap that echoed across the entire venue. Crack. The sound cuts through the music. The entire room goes dead silent. The cameras, which were previously taking photos of the dresses, immediately pivot and start flashing like strobe lights, capturing every single agonizing second of Ivy's public humiliation. I have to say, this slap was one of the most cathartic moments in recent television history. It was not just a physical strike. It was a complete severing of ties. With that one slap, Electra broke the invisible chains of manipulation that Ivy had wrapped around her. It was Electra taking her power back. It was Electra saying, I am not your puppet, I am not your pawn, and you do not own me. Let us look at the reactions of the crowd, because the audience in the room makes this scene 100 times better. Bill Spencer is standing there, and you just know he is internally cheering. Bill hates the Forresters, he hates their elitism, their arrogance, and their constant belief that they are better than everyone else. Seeing a Forrester get publicly slapped and humiliated at his girlfriend's fashion event is probably the highlight of Bill's year. Brooke Logan, who was just fighting with Katie, completely stops in her tracks. Her jaw's on the floor. Brooke knows a thing or two about public scandals, but even she is stunned by the raw violence and emotion of Electra's reaction. The Logans are watching a Forrester civil war unfold right in their territory, and they are eating it up. But the slap is only the beginning of Ivy's downfall. The immediate aftermath is where the real devastation occurs. Electra, with tears streaming down her face and her voice shaking with pure venom, looks Ivy dead in the eye and publicly disowns her. She tells Ivy that they are no longer family. She tells her that she never wants to see her face again. And then Electra drops the professional guillotine. She announces right there in front of the press that their jewelry partnership at Forrester Creations is officially over. This is huge. You have to understand the business implications of this. Electra and Ivy were supposed to be the new dynamic duo of the Forrester jewelry line. They were supposed to be the legacy team. By ending the partnership in such a spectacular public fashion, Electra is effectively burning Ivy's career to the ground. There is no coming back from a public relations nightmare of this magnitude. The media is already tweeting about it. The headlines are already being written, Forrester family feud erupts at Logan launch. And if Ivy thought things could not get any worse, she was dead wrong. Because news of this public disaster travels fast, and it reaches the desk of the absolute last person Ivy wants to deal with, Steffy Forrester Finnegan. When Steffy hears about what Ivy has done, the absolute wrath that descends upon Forrester Creations is biblical. Steffy is the co-CEO. She is fiercely protective of her company's image, but more importantly, she is fiercely protective of her family's mental health. When Steffy finds out that Ivy not only manipulated Electra, stole private mail, and manufactured a breakup, but also caused a massive public scandal at a rival fashion event. Steffy loses her mind. But we need to dig into the history here to truly appreciate Steffy's reaction. Many fans might think Steffy is just acting as a strict boss, but I think this goes way, way deeper. Steffy and Ivy have a toxic, hateful history that goes back a decade. Do you remember 2015? Do you remember when Ali Forrester died? And Ivy recorded a video of Steffy swinging a tire iron and then used that video to blackmail Steffy. Do you remember the sheer psychological torture Ivy put Steffy through, demanding she become the face of Forrester Creations? Demanding she give up? Liam Steffy's never forgotten that. Steffy pushed Ivy into the River Seine in Paris. Steffy accidentally electrocuted Ivy into some wires. These two women despise each other on a molecular level. For years, Steffy has had to tolerate Ivy's presence because of family politics. But now Ivy has handed Steffy the ultimate weapon. Ivy has proven herself to be a liability, a manipulator, and a toxic presence. Steffy does not just fire Ivy, she annihilates her. Steffy calls Ivy into the office. And I can only imagine the sheer satisfaction radiating from Steffy as she tells Ivy to pack her bags. Steffy fires her on the spot. No severance, no graceful exit, no PR spin. She kicks her to the curb. It is the ultimate poetic justice. Steffy finally gets to rid her company and her life of Ivy Forrester once and for all. The isolation that Ivy faces in this moment is absolute. Let us break down her allies. Does she have any? No. The Logan family is laughing at her. Brooke and Katie might hate each other right now, but they will happily unite in their disdain for Ivy's elitist behavior. Bill Spencer is probably ordering a round of drinks to celebrate her firing. What about the Forresters? Ridge is already furious about the physical brawl between RJ and Will. He has no patience for Ivy's manipulative games. Eric is not going to defend a woman who destroyed his granddaughter's happiness. Even RJ, who formed a sneaky alliance with Ivy to keep Electra for himself, is going to distance himself immediately. RJ is a coward when the heat gets turned up. He is not going to go down with Ivy's sinking ship. He will play dumb and act like he had no idea how far Ivy went. Ivy is completely and utterly alone. She has no job, no partner, no family support, and her reputation is in tatters. She is a pariah in Los Angeles. And so Ivy is forced to do the only thing she can do. She packs her bags and leaves LA forever. I have to say, watching Ivy's walk of shame out of Forrester Creations is going to be incredibly satisfying. Is it tragic? Maybe a little if you pity people who bring about their own destruction. But did she deserve it? Absolutely 100%. Yes. You cannot play God with people's hearts and expect to walk away clean. Ivy thought she was the smartest person in the room. She thought she could control the narrative. She thought Daphne would stay quiet forever. She underestimated the power of the truth, and she underestimated Electra's strength. Ivy's permanent exile from Los Angeles is the only fitting conclusion to this dark, twisted chapter of manipulation. But where does this leave everyone else? This is the question we really need to dive into, because Ivy's exit leaves a massive vacuum, and the fallout is going to be incredibly messy. First of all, let us talk about Electra and Will. Now that the truth is out, now that Electra knows, we'll never abandon her. What happens next? Will has been spiraling. He just got into a massive, violent physical brawl with RJ Forrester in the CEO office. He is angry, he is hurt, and he is volatile. When Electra comes to him with the truth, it is going to be an incredibly emotional reunion. But can they just pick up where they left off? I do not think so. The damage has been done. Will has been growing closer to Melissa Dillon. Electra has been heavily involved with RJ. There is a lot of emotional baggage to unpack here. Will is going to feel vindicated, yes, but he is also going to be furious that RJ knew about this and used it to his advantage. The hatred between Will and RJ, which is already fueled by the generational feud between Bill Spencer and Ridge Forrester, is going to escalate into an all-out war. RJ is going to be terrified that Electra will run right back into Will's arms, and RJ might resort to even darker tactics to keep her. Without Ivy to guide him, RJ might become unhinged. And what about Melissa Dillon? We cannot forget about her. Dillon knew the truth. Dillon knew what Ivy did, and she kept her mouth shut because she was falling for Will. Dillon has been mulling over this heartbreaking decision to confess, but she waited too long. Daphne beat her to the punch. When Will finds out that Dillon knew the truth the entire time and let him believe Electra hated him, Will is going to be disgusted. Dillon is going to lose Will. She's going to lose her credibility. And she might even lose her job if Electra decides to clean house completely. Dillon is not as sweet and innocent as she pretends to be, and her complicity in Ivy's scheme is going to blow up in her face. And finally, we have to look at the broader impact on the Logan and Forrester families. Katie's fashion debut was supposed to be a triumph. Instead, it became the stage for a violent family meltdown. Brooke is going to use this against Katie. Brooke will argue that Katie's event was cursed, that it was a disaster, and that Katie cannot handle the pressure of running a fashion house. Bill will defend Katie, but the PR nightmare is going to require a lot of damage control. The sister feud between Brooke and Katie is only going to get uglier from here. In conclusion, this episode delivered everything we love about soap operas. High fashion, deep betrayals, uncovered secrets, historical rivalries, and a physical confrontation that changes the landscape of the show forever. Electra's slap was the slap heard around the world. Ivy's exile is a long time coming. The deck has been completely reshuffled, and I cannot wait to see how these characters navigate the wreckage. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you Team Electra? Do you think Steffy was right to fire Ivy? And do you think Will and Electra can actually fix their broken relationship?